This is an introductory video on how to measure in the Toolkit using CAD with Spatial Analyzer 2018-0501. First thing you want to do is make sure your toolkit is open. If it's not open, if you don't see it on the right side of the screen, you'll right click in this area up here, click on Toolkit, and it comes up on the right side of the screen. We're going to work in the relationship pullout of the toolkit, which is this blue tab right here. And since we have CAD, we're going to be operating primarily in this compare to nominal function. The first thing that we're going to want to do on this part is measure a plane. So we'll measure this top plane on the part. So I'll hover over plane, and you'll see if we left click on it, then we can select what face it is, and it creates it on the screen. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to measure some circle locations, some hole locations. Holes are 2D features, so we're going to give it a plane of projection. So up in the top, we'll hit projection plane, and we'll see it says plane from CAD, which is going to be our measured plane. So we'll click on measure circle, and we'll click the top circle. You can see it becomes highlighted. We'll select circle 2, and then we'll select these circles in this bolt hole pattern. So we've got 5 or 6 circles created. Everything shows up in the task list. In the task list, we can do certain things. We can go into our properties. We can define how many points we're going to use. We can tell it if we want to automatically create vectors when we create that feature. This will show how flat it is. We can apply this to other like relationships. So for our circle locations, so for our big circle in the front, we'll go to properties. We can tell it maybe we want to create we want to see where the center of that circle is relative to where it's supposed to be, so we can create a vector for that center position. And maybe we want to do the same thing with the second circle as well too. So we'll click OK. We'll tell it to select all, and we'll measure those 2 circles in the same way. For the bolt hole patterns, maybe we want to know the diameter of the bolt hole pattern, so we'll create center points in our relationship. Those are cardinal points, and we'll tell them to all go to the same group. We'll just call the group cardinal points, and we're just going to create the center position, and we'll measure all 4 of those holes in the same manner. Select OK. Tell it to put all the cardinal points in the same group. We'll click OK, and then we'll go back here and we'll tell it we want to know the bolt hole pattern. And we can tell it we want to measure a circle. Since this isn't really a hole in the CAD, we'll just tell it we want to measure that pattern, and then we'll see that added to the list. We'll associate data with that. We'll associate a group. We'll have a point group created for all of those center points. So we'll select that center point. Now, I don't necessarily want to see that yet. Maybe we want to set up a map for our report, so we can create a callout view. And in this callout view, we can add all of our relationships that we want to see the roadmap to. So hitting F2, we can select all the labels that we want to have. So we'll click OK, enter, and we'll have a call out for all of our circle locations. We can arrange it the way we want to. And then we can take a photo of this for our report. So if we go to Add Essay Report, I can add this callout view, and I can add the things that I want to see in my report. With the relationships, I can create a geometry relationship summary table, which will be all of our circle locations and our bolt hole pattern. This will create a new location in the toolbar, and everything can be dragged and dropped at once into the report. We've got no data in here yet because we haven't done any measuring yet. The next thing we can do, we can set up some viewpoints for each of the tasks in the tree bar or in the toolkit. So if I want a certain view to be up on my screen when I get to a certain thing, I can say when I measure this plane, I want this to be the view. So I can create associated inspection call out, and that'll be the view when this plane comes up. Now maybe I want this to be my view for the next circle. So we can create associated inspection call out. Maybe this is the view that I want for the middle circle. Create associated inspection call out, and then we can change our view for the next circle. And keep doing this for each item. So now these will be the views that come up when I click on each task for your operator. Now, since I don't have any an instrument connected, I'll just associate points that are already measured with each one of these relationships. So I'm going to show the points that I have, and I can just right-click on my task, and I can hit Associate Data. So we'll associate a group of points for the top plane. The plane is created. We'll associate a group of points for this big circle. We'll associate a group of points for the back middle circle. And I can select them either from the screen or I can select them from the tree bar. So I could select this group over here. Associate a group of points for this circle. Associate a group of points for the next circle. And finally, the last circle. Now, one thing I did wanted to see was I wanted to get a look and see how flat the plane was. So I do have some vector groups that have been created. So I can go to the properties of the vector group, and I like looking at tubes. I want to see the value at the end. Can change the magnifications and the blotch sizes, and we can maybe we can hide our point groups, and we can get a good look at what the how flat that plane actually is. So maybe we wanted to add that to our report as well too, so we can take a picture. I also wanted to see the center locations for the circles and where they were relative to where they were supposed to be. So we can do the same thing with those circle locations. Amplify it, and we can close this, and we can apply these settings to the other circle because it's probably pretty similar. So click on this vector group, and we can see that circle is off in which direction. If I click on my essay report at this point, I can see that all my data has been populated. I've got my roadmap, I've got my measured compared to my nominal, and my deviations for each of the relationships that I was looking for. Thanks. That's a short video on how to measure with CAD using the Essay Toolkit.